and giving himself plenty of room on the right side. Josh Anthon is inbounds.
And from Fort Mill, South Carolina, two-time world champion, Ricky Wysocki.
He totally crushed that. I think he's coming back. He's going to have a really good look at up and down for three.
Next, for Mesa, Arizona, Paul Ulibarri.
Wind pushing that down, however, it's going to be a similar result to what we saw from Josh Anthon.
And from Huntington Beach, California, four-time world champion, Paul McBeth.
And again, the newcomer on the lead card here today, Paul McBeth. Paul's going to need that to turn more. It is hyzering hard toward the water. I'm not sure it's going to clear, and it's come up short. He knew it right out of his hands. We've got coverage. And Paul looking to make up for his OB shot off the tee and very aggressively letting out a little bit of anger. All right, we're moving on. We got and Josh, first to approach, finds himself inside circle one. Anytime we reference circle one, that's inside 10 meters on this hole, just like everybody except for Ricky. Ricky went 3-4. Basket. There's bushes and there's a little bit of water. I'm not sure that I'd be too aggressive. You really don't need to open with an eagle. It would be great, but you don't need to do that. Over 5. He's short of the OB water, but Ricky Wysocki's got a disc up over his head. He's got it, looks like a pancake. This is dangerous.
Yeah, Ricky!
And we got a fan club member of Ricky's cheering his par. And conventional birdies by Ulibarri and Josh Anthon. We've got a medium-sized walk over to hole 2. We'll be back in a moment. Josh Anthon opts for a roller, which is tight on the right side, playing along the OB that plays to the right. That is out of bounds. And Yuli has a mid-range with a nice, gentle float. Also hugging that right side. Wysocki also going with a backhand roller, giving a fist pump, and it has, looks like it may have finished OB. And Paul asked for the gallery on the right side just to push back slightly. And that may have bounced OB. We'll have to see when we get up there. Let's see. Oh, yes. And Paul McBeth has put it up near the basket. The gallery. And players today are able to
the score from yesterday. Very good start, birdie for Paul. If he can.
And although Josh is not a predominant forehand thrower, he certainly will bust one out whenever he needs it. That look. Wysocki with a forehand harp.
Well, we'll have to see. We need some verification.
And as I said, Josh was aggressive with the putt. And again, Paul McBeth, solid putt, saving the par after an OB tee shot.
Is that Paul's nickname is Par Save?
Typically not. And Uli is tapping in. I'm hearing conflicting answers, as I've heard that Ricky was OB, and I've also heard that Ricky's drive was not OB. We'll get it figured out by the next hole. We'll be back with you in a few moments from hole number 3. Great looking forehand flex shot with a very overstable disc there by.
Before he threw, he asked everybody to move off the sidewalk, and now it becomes very wide. It's 203. A tough break for Ricky off that tree.
And Paul goes with a Nova off the tee. Very slow cut and approach disc. And Josh going with the mid-range. We're going to hold off on the women's coverage for just a moment as we walk to Ricky Wysocki's very early lie here.
Mid-range, straight up the gut, who's going 2-2.
And Ricky is safe. Let's cut over to the women's third hole. Yes, Josh Anthon from just inside circle 2. We were just talking a moment ago. If he were
Exactly the difference. He's going to be 5 behind on this hole and in the tournament.
And McBeth answers from half the distance that we just saw Josh Anthon. That was approximately 28, maybe 29 feet. And Ricky Wysocki just wants to get off of hole 3 and move on. Looks like he should be able to save his bogey 4. done just that again. Josh Anthon has scored 5 less strokes on hole number 3 than Ricky has in the last 3 rounds. Paul Ulibarri, easy 2. We're moving on a very short walk to the very challenging hole number 4. And the basket is perched on a dirt mound. There's a man. Yesterday we saw Paul McBeth Anheuser carry all the way OB. Today is a good looking line. However, it hits a tree down the fairway. Paul McBeth going right up the middle and staying clear of most of the trees. However, it's carrying toward the OB, and it is a red flag. So although everyone from the sidewalk vantage point thought that was a good shot, it was actually not as it carried OB, and Josh Anthon releases his mid-range way too low and does not get over the crest of the hill.
Josh did the exact same thing yesterday, throwing low, playing very safe, just making sure he gets the 3, give himself a small chance at 2. It's a very hard hole to birdie. Paul Ulibarri has also opened the round with 3 birdies. He's playing very hot.
And Wysocki seems to be hugging the left side a little tighter than the other competitors. He did the same thing yesterday in much different winds. That's a green flag. We'll be back in a moment after the women play their 4th hole. And a little forehand flick with a putter from Josh Anthon. And Yuli with a very soft touch, just wants that to finally sit down. He'll be just fine with a...
Get the birdie here. Half of these guys do. That's why they're on the lead card.
And Steve, we are now 4 holes into the tournament on this 3rd round. And he does make the comebacker to the elevated basket.
Terry, when these guys putt, on his previous putt, he went over the basket by about 1 inch. On that one, he was about 1 foot above the basket, the cage. Where are these guys aiming?
Looks as if Yuli's aim was just off there. A lot of times, players will talk about getting just over the cage. They don't want to get it too high, worried about something that could happen in the chains, possibly a spit out or a spit straight through. You're looking to get just a few inches over the edge of the cage, center pole. And Ricky's in. We've got a short walk over to the famous ball field hole on number 5. And the very challenging baseball diamond hole, hole number 5, I believe 476 feet, aced during the opening round by Greg Barsby. And yesterday we saw it prove troublesome for 2 of our 4 competitors with OBs on the tee shots. Josh Anthon looks like there may have been an adjustment. We're feeling a right to left wind, and Josh Anthon gets the green flag. This basket is also elevated just to provide a little bit more challenge.
Josh played that probably 50 or 60 feet to the right of the pin. Obviously, that's where the green is wider. Do you think he's looking at the deuce, or is he just playing for a safe 3?
And Ulibarri, not enough power. He finds himself in the outfield, which is OB. And to answer you, Steve, I believe that Josh will be more than content with just carding a 3 here.
One interesting thing about Josh's play, we say that he's aggressive, but he's intelligently aggressive. If he doesn't think that he can gain a stroke, get the birdie, he plays safe. He'll use his mid and make sure he doesn't lose a stroke.
Well, Josh has openly admitted he doesn't have the distance he sees from our other competitors. And an ace? Oh, it is not an ace. I believe it is stuck into the side of the basket. What is going on? There's a chuckle here. We're going to keep walking.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to keep walking as we move to the drop zone. I think everyone, Ricky Wysocki, does not care at all as he's moving down the fairway. Paul's got a smile on his face. And we're just going to keep moving. We have to come to the drop zone first. And Yuli's shot is also tracking toward the pin. Looks to have just the right amount of power. We're going to check in with the women. Oh, it's not an ace, ladies and gentlemen. That will be just an eagle. The gallery loves it. And from 63 feet, had this not been elevated, I think that would have been in. And Ricky's putt from approximately 42 feet is
Wysocki got it in the first round, and obviously McBeth got it today.
And Yuli has no more than 10 feet here to clean up. And Josh Anthon will tap in for his 3. And we've got a very lengthy walk over to the challenging par 4. Hole number 6. We'll be back in a few moments. 800 plus foot hole. And this has come in as the most difficult hole found on the course, and that is difficult in terms of relation to par, not necessarily just the highest amount of strokes, although this is averaging 4.82 and is considered the most difficult hole relative to par.
Terry, you were correct, as usual, when you said 800 something, although I'll go ahead and clarify, it's 897 feet. And again, you were correct. This is the single most difficult hole of the round. Additionally, Paul McBeth threw that disc a good 50 or 60 feet farther than any of the competitors yesterday. And then Ricky Wysocki also throwing a bit farther than he did yesterday. I think these guys are playing a little more aggressive with no wind, and we might be looking at a couple of three runs.
And the spotter is cautiously going to run over. I believe from my vantage point it looked like it would be in bounds. He's going to give a green flag to Josh Anthon. Yesterday we saw, even with the whipping winds, we saw 4 drives all land right in the center of the fairway. Today, with a very gentle right to left, they seem to be pushing a little bit closer to the left side. Looks like Josh Anthon first to throw. He needs that to stop. It's going to also be close. It looked from more than 100 feet away that it had stopped before carrying all the way to the long grass. Green flag for Josh Anthon.
This reminds me a little bit of Wimbledon, watching these guys run across to check. And the little ball boys running.
Yep, that guy has 3 tennis balls in his pocket, which is kind of weird. That seemed to be more or less a pitch up by Paul Ulibarri. Maybe he was undecided as to just how aggressive he wanted to be, and I think he ultimately said, well, I'm just going to play it up to their approach and hopefully walk away with the 4. Wysocki also playing what looks to be a pretty conservative option, going with a forehand, flirting with the OB, going through it, and he is very lucky that one of those tree branches did not pull him in and suck him into that OB. And all too often I see him throw a shot, blurt out the word junk, and then can a 60-footer.
I have a feeling this could be a tremendous shot. It's coming right at us. Comes back in bounds. Inside circle 2. He's got 60 feet for the birdie to check out a little bit farther, and now we know why.
Well, it was a few years ago on this very hole, I watched Johnny McRae throw a wide shot that ultimately caught a competitor, or I'm sorry, caught a spectator. That is in bounds.
So I think that's 3 times today so far that we've made corrections to what I used to believe. Josh Anthon with a beautiful upshot. Puts that within 5 feet, maybe within 3. But I guess he knows his game. He puts his third shot within 10 feet and should have a pretty easy par on the most difficult hole on the course.
And this is for the birdie 3. And I could read Paul's lips as he was throwing that up there. He just wanted it to get there. Camaraderie amongst these guys, everyone enjoying one another's company. Ricky will tap in. Josh will tap in. A brief walk to hole 7. Stay tuned. You're watching live disc golf at the Ledgestone Insurance Open, presented by... And Wysocki laces a forehand shot to within 20 feet of the pin. Josh Anthon also finds himself within 20. And Yuli's flip up forehand does not come back. Let's see how the women did on this. And McBeth has thrown a very long approach right next to the pin. And Yuli converts here on the birdie. I'm guessing we're seeing 3 birdies and the lone par by McBeth. Josh also is in for 2. Sounds as if the chase card has just teed off on the next hole. It means we'll have a little bit of a backup there. And Paul will be the last to tap in. Paul with the lone par here. The other 3 competitors with birdies. And we are through 7 holes, a little over 1/3 of the way. Steve, I think we're going to stand down for just a few moments.
Everybody on this card has parred this both rounds. Ricky Wysocki pulls that way, well, not way right, but he's going to have a tough look in if he wanted to give himself a real shot at birdie. Or if I was over there, I would have a tough look in.
Not sure your forehand skills are quite what Ricky's are, so he might have an advantage on you there.
So, as I said yesterday, this is the hole that McBeth said he tends to get too aggressive on. He'll be last on the tee. It'll be interesting to see, after watching his competitors throw. He knows there's no wind out here, to see how aggressive he is on his drive.
I'd like to think we got into a position where even the best of drives will not get all the way to us. It's a great throw there by Paul Ulibarri, and if McBeth puts everything into this and throws a perfect shot, he could just about land at our feet. We'll see.
I'm going to go ahead and predict he comes within 25 to 30 feet of us. I think he is feeling like he needs to make a move. He's currently 6 strokes back. And that is a beautiful flex shot. Flies over Ulibarri's and skips a few feet past it.
And Josh just playing to the edge of the peninsula there and putting himself right next to that
disc and knowing there's no wind. Paul Ulibarri, on the other hand, decides he wants to be aggressive and doesn't look like that's turning enough. That could be danger off to the left, and it is in fact out of bounds. I'll tell you real quick, as you said earlier, it's the 4th hardest hole, and 4% of the people have birdied this hole over the last 2.5 rounds.
And Wysocki is playing for par at the moment. We'll see. Looks like Paul may be doing. And Paul knows that he released it just a bit early. It's heading toward the wet area on the right side, short of the basket, with a very small putting circle around it. We'll see another forehand here. I believe that's a putter. And he has stuck the landing right underneath the basket. And with a run from outside Circle 2's edge, Ricky hits the front of the basket. And Uli's content with that, and OB water no more than 15 feet directly behind his lie. And he opts for the layup right to the base of the pin.
That reminds me of the dark and desolate line from Tin Cup, just for those people who are wondering what's going through my little mind right now. And just to let people know, James Cole did in fact birdie hole 11. If he gets one more birdie, I'm officially calling him back in this race.
McBeth will tap in. Uli will tap in, and as I said, underneath the pin for Josh Anthon for his drop-in par. We have a lengthy walk over to the bridge hole, hole number 9. We'll be back in a few moments right here at the Ledgestone Insurance Open, presented by Discraft.
Showing Ulibarri how it's done. He's beating him by 1. And
after hitting a Discraft feather banner, Wysocki's comes up short, and he will be OB. And that is tracking toward the basket, just left, and green flag for Josh Anthon.
Josh is up by 4 and has the foot on the floor. Doesn't look like he's going to stop anytime soon.
And that is short. Jonathan Gomez just about got his head taken off over on the other side of the bridge.
So, with the exception of Josh Anthon, everybody has birdied this twice. And we've already seen 2 shots go OB, and that is low.
And the Drew Gibson wall gets him. Uh-oh.
Let's see how the women did on hole 9 at Northwood.
Ricky Wysocki moving to the drop zone and should have a very makeable bogey putt from there.
A big thank you to Tribaloid for providing the Tribaloid wall. They were the first sponsor the Pro Tour ever had. Happy to have them back for the 2nd season. It was a very well placed throw by Paul.
And Uli goes with a forehand and also finds himself inside the circle. And Ricky, concerned with his footing with the OB string directly behind him. I feel like he should have brought that in the full 1 meter if he wasn't already. And barely just willing it in on that left side. Paul Ulibarri is going to walk off here with a 4, still relinquishing 2 strokes to Josh Anthon if Josh converts.
It looked like Paul Ulibarri was pitching to Barry Bonds there, low and left.
And McBeth converts from the drop zone ultimately, which will give him a bogey 4, and Josh Anthon looking to pick up 2 or 3 on everyone else on the card. And as expected, Josh does not miss very many putts from essentially any range where he has a putter in his hands. Ricky is flustered. He'll tap in, and we're moving on to the back half of the course. Stay tuned. You're watching live disc golf at the Ledgestone Insurance Open, presented by Disc.
Decided to birdie 11 and 12. 12 is the water tower hole, a very difficult birdie. Says to me that James Snappy has got it rolling. Josh Anthon also has it rolling with an amazing drive well inside circle 1. He's got another headbanger. You know, stats don't matter one bit when you throw like that. It does not matter how many times you've deuced it. That thing was a beautiful shot. It is ridiculous how well he knows his disc. He flips it up, just lets it ride.
I will say with approximately 27 holes left to play, 26 once he taps in, I'm going to call it. I think this is Josh Anthon's tournament, and I don't know if there's enough in McBeth or Wysocki to come out and chase him down and catch him. McBeth does answer. That's going to be probably a birdie for him, but Josh Anthon is so consistent and playing so well out here. I'm calling it right now. I think this is Josh Anthon's tournament to lose.
After the very first round, the article that was written on the Pro Tour's Newsflash website, a nice Paul Ulibarri put some very good action on that. That hyzer's in. He is also inside circle one. These guys are making this hole very easy, but said basically Anthon needs to be considered whenever you have a conversation about who's going to win. It's no longer Wysocki McBeth. It's now Wysocki, McBeth, and Anthon. And obviously when Simon Lizotte and Nate Sexton are here, they're in the conversation. An amazing shot by Ricky. We might be looking at a star frame. Let's see how the women did on their 10th hole.
This 500-footer look more like a 250-footer. This is ridiculous how dialed in they are. Uli is first to convert, and Steve, as we were walking down the fairway, we actually challenged Nate Heinold and said, is this really 500 feet? He said, well, please 470.
So
I think he needs to get his actuaries on that.
Before this group, this hole had been birdied by 20 competitors, roughly 15% of the field. They just got 4 more birdies. Josh Anthon maintains his lead. We're moving on to hole 11. That was easy.
Out of all 4 of their drives, and I'm not sure they would have been outside the circle. We're moving on a lengthy walk over to hole 11.
That's right.
Around here, a moving day. This hole measures in at 240 feet and statistically the easiest hole on the course.
It's interesting you say that, Terry, because when we played hole 7, that was the easiest hole on the course. But as the lead cards go through, holes get easier. This hole is now the easiest hole on the course.
Would you say that's a advantage of being in a later tee time? You get to play easier holes as the day goes on, Steve?
100%. The course gets easier, the better the players are.
Ulibarri following suit after both Anthon and McBeth throw forehands. Ricky Wysocki, of course, will be attacking with a forehand.
Ricky was very aggravated after the last birdie. I wonder if he's just sensing there's not enough holes left to catch Anthon.
And he flirts with the tree but gets hung up. Let's check in with the women over at and McBeth. Make sure the chains are hanging appropriately here. Then converts on the birdie. Uli with no more than 12 feet. Anthon is almost touching the base of the basket with his tee shot. He taps in for the birdie. 3 birdies and the par by Wysocki. We're heading to the water tower hole, hole 12, right here at the Ledgestone Insurance Open, presented by Discraft. Anytime soon, Josh will again have the tee. Josh appears to have just the right amount of angle on this. And that is just about 20 feet. Great job by Josh Anthon.
Very smart attacking by Josh. He's not trying to get too far left. He's not bringing the water tower into play. Keep it off to the right. Get it in play. Give yourself a look at birdie. Well done.
Of course, Paul McBeth color coordinating his disc with his outfits. And a jerk driving by who thought he would honk. Great stop by Paul McBeth as a truck honked intentionally. He regains composure. That comes in what looks a little tight. We'll see if it gets around. After hitting the tower, it miraculously stays in. Yesterday, I believe we saw 2 or 3 shots hit the tower and all go OB. McBeth stays in bounds. Uli's also appears to be tight. And great shot by Paul Ulibarri. Looks to be about 20 to 25 feet. Ricky Wysocki.
Terry, did he want to get that close to the water tower, you think?
And Ricky needs to get this close if he wants to maintain any momentum that he has. And gets a great shot. Let's see how the women did at Northwood Park earlier today.
Yeah, Josh.
Of course, Anthon converts. Uli will be next to throw from 18 feet. Looks like we should have a star frame here.
With the water tower behind on that, Paul Ulibarri could really run that putt.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what he was thinking, is that he's got a great backdrop. And dropping in for the birdie is Ricky Wysocki. A few years ago, when and welcome back. We are here with Josh Anthon after everyone had successfully crossed the water off their tee shots on 13. And Steve, a few days ago you talked about what is needed to attack this hole if you wanted to get the birdie.
Well on this hole. And as just recapping where we are right now after that great interview with Steve Holloway of MVP, Anthon's 8 ahead of Paul McBeth and Ricky Wysocki. Paul Ulibarri's 9 down. 9 behind, I should say. He's also safely on the second peninsula of this 3-peninsula par 5.
And this hole measures in right around 1,000 feet, if I recall. 1,080 to be exact. And Wysocki has to go out over the water, not as much distance as we'll see from the other competitors, because he had to give it so much of a hyzer angle. And Paul McBeth has put himself in a prime landing zone here on this first shot of the par 5.
So 1,080 feet, he's gone about 500. Is he going to be going for the green, trying to get the eagle to make up some room? The answer to that is a no.
It is definitely a no, as he somewhat, not lazily, but he throws that one up safely. We're going to move on. We'll be back in a moment.
He's got about the same shot. Looks like that's carrying a little bit left. It's going to be just outside circle 1.
And Josh knows it's a good shot. He doesn't even turn to look until it finally lands. Ulibarri will be the last to approach. And Uli also with a hyzer. Besides, I'd hate to be a lefty on this hole, Steve. All right, let's see how the women did on their 13th. Wysocki's straddled putt to the left is not good. And McBeth's 26-footer is in. We'll take the birdie 4. Yuli's also in. Ricky Wysocki moving in for par. And Anthon in for the easy birdie. Steve, your Disc Golf Pro Tour shirt tells me you've been working out. We'll join everyone on hole 14 in just a moment.
Here goes his tee.
And really doing exactly what you want to do here, which is keep it safe, inbounds, not too close to the water, but also you don't want it to flare off to the left. So that looks to be a good position, maybe a little bit more distance, but that's in pretty good position. Here's Paul McBeth.
We sat down for 5-10 minutes right now. These guys, do they cool off at all? What do they do to stay warm?
If there was any cool down whatsoever, it seems not to have affected Paul McBeth. I think these guys are in the zone. They're 14 holes in. They're ready to go. And with the best drive thus far, we see Paul Ulibarri lace that one down the fairway. And a very aggressive play here by Ricky Wysocki with OB Lake on the right. He rolls it, that kicks up and off the tree. However, it stands still and sits down. Let's see how the women did on their 14th hole at Northwood Park.
It's pretty fine.
And Josh Anthon gets out over the water, and I'm no doubt about that coming back inbounds. It's going to do just that. And a great shot there by Josh Anthon. And McBeth is looking to come up shorter from what we just compared to Josh Anthon. So you have a putt from there. And putting plenty of power on that. We see Paul making sure he stays. A great shot there by Wysocki. We've got a lengthy walk we're going to get back to in a few moments after a word from our sponsors on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And he is human, folks. McBeth converts from 29 feet after seeing Josh Anthon miss from circle's edge. Yuli's 25-footer is high left. We'll see a pair of pars and also a pair of birdies. Wysocki and McBeth picking up a stroke on the leader. Josh Anthon, he'll tap in. We're going to move on to the elevated basket on hole 15, right here, the Disc Golf Pro Tour. 4th most easy hole on the course. Paul opts for the turnover. And that is parked. Great shot by Paul McBeth.
He almost hit the Tempercraft elevated basket.
interestingly enough, a roller which goes out of bounds. Hopefully all of the people move, and we'll see if that comes back in bounds. And I do not believe that got back in bounds. Ricky Wysocki not going with a forehand. I'm completely baffled by that decision. Josh Anthon with a leopard turnover fairway driver, which comes up short left side, just outside the circle. We haven't seen a forehand from Ricky since hole 11, which is only 240 feet. Yesterday you said that maybe Paul Ulibarri's putter or putting stroke was broken. Maybe there's something wrong with Ricky's forehand. I don't know, but let's... And Ricky lunges forward. I would expect him to use that forehand and park this thing. He and Anthon are the only two players in this foursome that have birdied this. Ricky is in, and it looks like Paul McBeth with that birdie will move to 18 under par and -7 for the round. We're moving on. Hole 16 coming right at you here on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Would actually come buzzing just past where we're standing at the moment. We are on the right side of their fairway, and Uli is coming directly at us. And just to be safe, trying to make sure we get out of the way there. It kicked out from the bushes on the right side of the fairway, approximately 5 feet off of them. This is a 606-foot par 4. Was that Josh? Yeah. Josh Anthon with a beautiful roller. And Nate is going to try and hunt it down. And we'll see if that actually... Ricky is just thrown. Ricky's roller's coming. And again, a tree stops Ricky's disc dead in its tracks. On the previous hole, there was a chance for it to come back in bounds. But either way, let's see how the women did on their 16th hole at Northwood Park. Backhand. Does he have about 400 feet right now? 600 feet long. He's asking for it to get down. I think there was an oh boy mixed in there. And he will be safe but short. Forehand shot there by Ricky with a standstill and a precarious lie. And a turnover shot, what some would refer to as a patent pending, blowing from left to right. And it carries over the basket, hits the tree behind him. It'll leave him with no more than 10 feet. And Ricky's 55-footer is the perfect height, but Paul Ulibarri's a par. Ricky scoops up his mini in frustration here on these custom powder-coated baskets. These are Discraft Chain Stars. They are raffled off as part of the prizes that can be won for a St. Jude Children's Hospital raffle. Find Ledgestone Insurance Open on Facebook if you'd like to get yourself a ticket, and you could win one of these beautiful baskets. Hole number 17, measuring in at 285 feet. And Josh definitely making the adjustment. Not nearly as windy as yesterday, but finds himself under the pin here on hole 17 today. And McBeth releasing his Nova, which is heading toward the dock. It hits one of the uprights and goes into the water. Yesterday, Paul played the wide hyzer. He's doing the same today. And sticks it. Also inside 25 feet. And Ricky's not pleased with the shot. That looks like it may have been a little light out of his hands. But it does get onto the green. He'll have a putt. We're going to move to the drop zone. We'll be back in a few moments. And welcome back. We are here on the drop zone of hole number 17. Paul McBeth to tee, or correction, to throw his shot first, as the other three landed in bounds.
You want to say something?
And Wysocki looks mad, but still cards the birdie. And just getting in and staying in. We'll see 3 birdies here and a bogey 4 by 4-time world champ Paul McBeth. A little bit of a separator here on the 17th hole. 1 to play, 19 to go overall. Josh Anthon in your lead. Let's move to 18.
There we go, Josh Anthon with that very aggressive roller. Call it the smart aggressive.
Uli's lining up a backhand roller as well. And a very flippy disc as that gets up, stands for him and starts to roll. Carries up toward the right side of the fairway. And Ricky's luck has him hitting a tree with just about every backhand roller he's thrown with that yellow disc today. We'll see if this one stays clean for him. And he does get a clap from the gallery.
I saw Ricky with a little smirk there. I'm thinking he might have saved one. Thought that was going OB.
And McBeth also with a backhand roller. We saw some very impressive roller shots here yesterday, and that's got a good move on it. We'll see how the women played their last hole at Northwood Park earlier today. And he gets a kick off the tree, definitely going for that green. It's not going to get there, but and that was a great release by Uli. Unfortunately, headed right toward the tree. He did get a little bit of a break that didn't carry far enough left to find the water. Paul McBeth coming in. We'll see if that comes in and checks up for him, and it comes in hot. And that is OB for Paul McBeth. And a misfire there by Wysocki, throwing it almost straight into the ground. Forehand approach by Ricky Wysocki.
Another interesting thing.
And I'll tell you that if Josh had room to give that a full run, he would have. And McBeth swoops up his mini in frustration. He does convert on the putt, however frustrated with the finish. And Josh, the other night on the podcast before the event, we said anything more than 6 strokes is considered a whooping. And that's exactly the pace and then some that Josh Anthon is currently on. And Uli taps in.